Let's get back to federal politics now, because just after it had been quiet for quite some time, it feels like the climate war is re-erupting. So I want to bring in now National Senator Bridget McKenzie. Bridget, thanks so much for your time. Do you think really that we are going to meet those 2030 emission reductions and renewable energy targets?
Laura, it's not just me that's saying it, it's the Grattan Institute, it's energy experts. There is no way we're going to actually meet the aggressive targets that the Labor Party put forward for 2030. And that's a huge concern, because we are a middle power globally. We're the country that when we say we're going to do something, we achieve it. And this is undermining our international reputation that the Labor Party almost set us up to fail. The coalition obviously is super committed to net zero by 2050, but we need to have a credible path to get there that's going to keep the lights on, make sure we keep jobs on shore, and that we can afford our energy bills.
Can I just go to that super commitment, because it did seem like it was a little bit shaky over the weekend. I feel like Peter Dutton was misrepresented. And look, there's some within the Nats that, you know, Matt Canavan this morning was on saying that he thinks that Paris should be ripped up. Now, that's consistent from him. But is there any chance, that you would pull out of the Paris Agreement if you won the next election?
Oh, absolutely not, Laura. And I can tell you from the National Party leadership, from the Liberal Party leadership, from our party rooms, we are committed to net zero by 2050. Yep. And the train wreck of an interview by Minister Bowen on the ABC this morning shows that they're just deflecting from the fact that they're not going to meet their own target commitments, and that their policies are driving up the cost of electricity, which is going to cost us jobs, as well as everybody's pay packet, you know, when they're trying to make their bills add up. So it's mischief making and a real scare campaign from the Labor Party to try and deflect from their own failure when it comes to climate policy.
Well, look, let's, because Cam took us through the figures before. On emissions reduction, their target was 43. They're going to get to 42 on their own projections. So, look, let's give them a tick for that one. But on renewables, it is far short. They're about half by 2030. So what that tells me is that they're reducing emissions, but renewables aren't coming online as quickly as they should. So we've got a big gap.
A massive gap, Laura, and you know, those timeframes to close coal-fired power stations aren't changing, and you've got to replace this energy where our energy demand is going up over time because we have more people and we want to be more productive, etc. And that means we need to have the supply online, and the fact that renewable projects are being held up for environmental concerns, they haven't consulted with traditional owners, let alone with local communities, shows that this 100% renewable strategy, the only country in the world that's attempting this, by the way, is failing. You know, I went to COP28 in Dubai last year, and the world was really struggling with the reality of how do we actually get to net zero? Can we meet our commitments? And that's when so many developed countries said we've got to triple our nuclear power generation by 2050 as a globe if we want to get there.
This debate is so poisoned because I think people have seen different iterations over this over the last 20 years. So you talk about the reality, and I think you're right in what is achievable and what isn't, but there's also a political reality. I mean, you're a national senator, so you're less concerned about the teal seats. But if you do want to get back into power, you need to get some of those seats back. And by proffering this reality, it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to do that. How do you get around that?
Well, I think, Laura, I think the reality is good policy is always good politics, and I think we're interested in actually having a credible pathway to 2050, and we're genuine in that. We've done the research, we've travelled the globe, we've spoken to the experts, and that's what we're going to be taking to the next election, a credible pathway, not for the next election, not for the next 5 years, but to actually get us to 2050, because, you know, renewable projects need to be renewed every 2 decades. So before we even get to 2050, we're going to have to roll out these wind towers and solar farms again. We want them to complement from a type of energy production that's going to last us well into this century so that we can maintain our prosperity and our sustainability. And I think that's the vision we're going to be taking.